Hey everybody, Hugh here, welcome back. So today we're going to take a look at the shade tunnel, the one that I constructed using shade netting and other recycled materials. So we'll take a look at what's going on in there. It's primarily for vegetables. So we'll take a look, I'll show you around a little bit and we'll come back then. Okay. Now as we go through the door, the shade tunnel itself has one long path down the centre, and a bed just to the left which has potatoes, and a bed to the right which has the brassicas, and then this longer bed has a green manure crop, some pots with some old bulbs, a fair spread of onions and some peas. The first crop I want to take a look at is the brassica bed. You can see here it's quite full and a little bit unexpectedly so. I had these cabbage plants grown from seed for a little while and I thought they were gone over a little bit, as in they were yellowing and not doing well. And I think it was Alan of Dawn Chorus had something similar, and he had planted his and was showing them a few weeks later, saying that they had actually come on a lot. And I didn't waste any time. I got mine and I planted them. Now interestingly, a lot of them were sown in pairs, so you can see there's two plants there and one of them is thriving. So the second is going to be removed. And then the same with this one, you can see that there's two there. So I'm going to basically take the stronger of the two and leave that and leave the other ones in. They're also planted quite closely together. You know the size that cabbage plants grow to. They grow quite a large head on them. So with these, again, I'm going to thin them a little bit more. I'm going to let them grow for now, but then I'm going to leave this one and that one and take out, if you like, the middle ones to leave more space. So overplanting the cabbages with a view to thinning them, and of course eating the thinnings. They don't have to develop their big heads. The young leaves like that can be taken, they can be sautéed in a bit of butter on the pan, and they can be very tasty indeed. Some of the foliage you can see there is lacking food, and that's, I would think, to do with the condition of the soil and the compost that's in there. So some feeding is going to take place. I have some nettle tea which will give them a boost, and I'm going to put in some manure. So the liquid feed, the nettle tea, will give them an immediate boost, and the chicken manure will release over the next 4 to 6 weeks. I have interplanted, I think it was Steve that I saw doing that, or recommending that, with some beetroot which is coming along, and of course they can be eaten for their green foliage and for the beets when they develop. So we'll see how we go. It is quite a crowded space, but I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that, and of course there's a view to thinning. The advantage of having them in the netting tunnel is of course the pigeons, which were a curse and can be a curse, are kept well away. In this bed I have the Brussels sprouts, which are growing quite nicely. Now again, these were quite leggy on me, so I just buried them further down and they've responded well. The plants themselves are too close together, so that one and that far one will be left, and I'll be thinning out the middle, and again using the foliage as sautéed greens, but I'll leave them for now just in case. I see this one had been attacked by a slug or a snail, but the newer foliage has been left alone. Next up is the onions and shallots. And these were onions that were set into modules just as the lockdown happened. So luckily most of them just sat there. They didn't do very much at all. And when lockdown had lifted some 6 weeks later, I started watering them and away they went. So everything we get out of these guys is bonus. There was a few extra that have just been left in these pots, so we might pot those on. They're the shallots. You can see that they're multi-stemmed, for want of a better word. And the onions themselves look very nice indeed. These couple of rows here are sets that one of my neighbours had, and they gave them to me, so I planted them down as well. You can see one of them is going to seed there for whatever reason, so I might just let that develop as a seed for the insects. But delighted to see that my own have come along well, and really now's the time when you want them to be growing, so all that rain and that heat is going to be great. Give them lots of greenery, again a bit of a liquid feed to boost, maybe some chicken manure, and it's only at a later stage, it's only in a couple of weeks after the longest day in the year do the bulbs really start to thicken up. So get as much green growth on them now, which will lead to bulbs thickening up. And of course a bit of weeding to do there, and that's fine. Peas again, mixed results there. These were growing in pots and planted out only in more recent weeks. They're been a bit neglected, but there are some pods on them there, and they're maunched too, so the pods are ready for picking. So between these few maunched 2 pods and the cabbage thinnings, that's enough greens to saute on the pan for dinner. And in this bed we have the potatoes, a mixture of potatoes. Some were seed potatoes purchased, and others were seed potatoes I'd left over from the previous year, or potatoes from the supermarket that I'd set down. I did have them all labelled at one point, but sure, between growing them in pots and then transplanting them, we got mixed around a bit, so some of them have labels and others we'll just have to enjoy. Interesting to see how they've been developing. Some better than others. Doing them in pots was a good way to get them in, despite lockdown and not being able to access the site here, so I grew them on in pots and planted them. So it'll be interesting to see the results, but that's a mid-June look at them. If you're wondering about these pots, these are the Daffodil Pots. They're just dying back now. Can you see the foliage dying into the bulbs? So they're going to be knocked out of their pots and the bulbs stored and planted again in fresh compost in a couple of months' time. The green manure, that's one called Lysomachia, or poached eggplant. So that I'll collect some seed from them for sowing in another area as part of my crop rotation. This particular plant is blueberry, requires an acid or an ericaceous soil, and the plant itself, the tub itself needs to be cleaned, weeds removed and top dressing and some feeding. So I'll get to doing that. Speaking of compost bin, that's one of my other ones under the Daleks, and you can see I put some compost in the top and planted a pumpkin. So let's watch that space and see what happens. not in the shade tunnel, but in the cold frame outside, are some lettuce going to seed. So again, I'm going to let them flower, harvest seed from one or two of them, and we'll compost the rest. Nice and colourful though, for the time of year. And of course, I need to sow some more seed for succession sowing. As always, thanks very much for tuning in, and thanks for watching. Thanks for the likes and thanks for liking and subscribing, and of course the comments and chats. If you have any questions, as always, let me know, and of course ring that bell for updated notifications. All the best. Bye bye.